Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with you in Studio C. Tonight is an amazing show. Got a special guest tonight in Studio C, Mark Levine, the original host, right here, Monday night, December 15th, 2025, and this is our 841st show. Mark, thanks for joining, buddy.
Oh, my pleasure.
Hey,
my pleasure.
Guess what? We got, after all that time, official ball cap swag.
It took only 22 years. Imagine what we can do 22 years from now.
Oh my God! Give us your comments in the comments, YouTube channels. Thank you, sir. Thank you, producer, Mr. Jewell.
Thank you.
Sir, lots to talk about.
We do. We have the Virginia elections.
Let's start there, man. Let's start there. Impressions.
I thought it would go well. It went better than I thought.
I was a little bit worried.
I thought it would go well.
Okay,
I thought it would go well. I thought we'd get 55, 58 seats in the House of Delegates.
Yeah.
I never dreamed we'd get 64.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just like,
I was like, see, you're a dreamer. I love that.
Well,
You're
no,
a dreamer.
I thought we'd do. I thought Abigail Spangler would do
Oh,
well.
yeah,
I
that
thought
would've
she'd
got-
win 10, 12 points, and she won 17
I just didn't
points.
know how long her coattails would be dragging.
You know, they usually are.
Yeah.
They're not that. I think we have a new era in Virginia, and you know, I was there last time this happened.
So are we a purple state officially, or?
Now, I would argue Virginia is an indigo state.
Enlighten me.
So purple means equally red and blue. Indigo is between blue and purple, and I think that's where we are. I think the Republicans on their best day can win by 2 points. So Young can beat Terry McAuliffe by 2 points.
Right.
Us on our best day, 17 points. Abigail Spangler winning her race.
Yeah.
So between -2 and +17, right, that averages to about +9, +10, which means that
real quick, devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Abigail represented something different than our dear friend Terry did. He had a lot more tied to him, and I think that's why she was able to get more.
Well, there are a number of things.
Yeah.
One, she was a new face.
Correct.
Two, her opponent was terrible.
Just
Wacko.
Okay.
Wackadoodle would be the nice way to explain
Wackadoodle, okay.
her position. But it was also the national climate.
Yes.
Virginia reflects the nation. And in fact, Virginia often predicts the nation, which is why I think we're going to have a blowout election in 26.
We do tend to
We lead the way.
We
lead the way. If you look at virtually every Virginia election, whether when we go one way, the nation goes the same way the next year. So I'm very hopeful about 26.
So the Dems apparently made up this word, affordability. Did I say that right?
Donald Trump has never heard the word before.
Did I
it's
say
a word
that
that
right?
we've been using for
Okay. I mean,
centuries.
it's not a hoax. It's a real
Donald
concept
Trump
thing.
says it's a hoax, which is amazing because he won on that hoax.
Yeah.
The irony is a lot of the people, not the hardcore MAGA heads, but the people in the middle, the people, unfortunately a lot of young people,
A lot of Latinos.
who he tricked, too many Latinos, frankly, but too many of everybody, too many men, women generally got it right. I think they went to him because we had high inflation under Biden. Why do we have high inflation under Biden? Because of a pandemic. And, you know, for all the things people have complained about Joe Biden, I don't think anyone has yet blamed him for the Wuhan virus. Now, maybe someone has, but in fact, I would argue that Donald Trump's screwing up the pandemic made it a lot worse, made things a lot more harmful. But all across the world was a supply shock. All across the world was inflation. In fact, it was less bad under Biden than elsewhere in the world.
It was global.
But it was global.
It was global.
Absolutely, because of supply constraints, because of this pandemic, which is once in a century pandemic. Now, that sounds like an excuse. It happens to be true. They can be both. But the difference is that Trump comes in, Biden's made the economy great, given us the lowest unemployment that we've had since the 70s. In fact, he tied in the 70s. It hasn't been lower since the 50s. Right. Inflation was getting down in the twos. And now Donald Trump, with his tariff policy, has both raised inflation and unemployment. So he's hurt on both counts. And we're
still increasing the debt, by the way.
Massively, massively, because we're giving huge tax cuts to billionaires. Yeah. And I think even the MAGA heads, even like when Marjorie Taylor Greene starts making sense,
okay.
I get worried.
Yeah.
I start to check my facts 3 times. You know, it's like how can someone? But even his strongest supporters are turning on him, and I think they're turning on him because for some reason they didn't see that he was a billionaire protecting billionaires. They didn't see it. They thought that somehow he was protecting them, and he was never on their side. You know, you don't need your health care. You need a new ballroom in the White House.
Right.
You know, I don't think that most MAGA voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan were voting for Donald Trump in order to get that ballroom.
So again, I view Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congressman Greene, as that canary in the coal mine.
Well, yeah.
So there was a line there that she refused to go over that with him.
Well, I think the Epstein files played a major role in this. You know, here there's this ridiculous QAnon conspiracy where, what's the worst thing we can think of to blame Democrats for? Pedophilia, attacking little children. Okay, that's a horrific claim for anyone to make. Of course, it wasn't true with regard to Democrats. But Donald Trump happens to have been close friends with the most renowned pedophile, and he also has his history, right? He proudly admits he walked in a bunch of naked girls at his Miss Teenage pageant. He's talked about how his daughter, if she weren't his daughter, would be someone he's gone down the road of some pretty gross stuff. I think that's what he thinks about, and so it's just kind of ironic that this is the thing that QAnon came to. And his own supporters are like, well, why would he protect Epstein? And something like, that's why he'd protect Epstein. So I think it's not going to open some eyes. Some eyes can never be opened. But I do think Donald Trump is reaching, and it's a dangerous thing to say because we've been saying it for years, but I think he's reached a new low. I think there's a turning point.
I think the reason I say the canary in the coal mine is because then Indiana State, Republican General Assembly controlled, decided not to gerrymander. He apparently lobbied and was on the phone and threats of primaries, and they had a little bit of courage to say, no, we're not doing this.
A few of them did, enough to join with the Democrats to stop it. That's correct. And good
that's
for
huge.
Them. And it is huge. It is huge. The irony is no one should be gerrymandering. And Democrats have proposed year after year after year national legislation at the federal level to prohibit gerrymandering throughout the 50 states.
So okay, I'm going to take the contrarian view on this.
No. But I'm just saying, without the national amendment, then it's a free-for-all. Then to me, it's like boxing, right? The Queensberry rules: you shouldn't hit below the belt. But when your opponent hits you below the belt, if you don't hit below the belt, you're in trouble.
So should Democrats in Virginia proceed then with?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me why.
Okay. Because there is no federal solution.
Correct.
And we should, all Democrats, all good Americans, should support a federal law banning gerrymandering. There's all kinds of ways to do it. I've written legislation on this when I was in the House of Delegates, all of that. But once Donald Trump decides to say, democracy doesn't matter, we're not going to let the voters choose us, we're going to choose the voters by drawing lines, and orders Texas mid-decade, not during the census years, to change its seats. For the sole purpose, change its lines, give us 5 more seats. If you don't fight fire with fire, you're just going to lose. It's like the example, I always think of it, I talked about boxing. I'll give you another example, playing Monopoly. If you're playing Monopoly with someone, and they keep taking $500, out of the bank whenever they need it, that's wrong. And you shouldn't do that. But you're never going to win the game if you don't also take 500s out of the bank. The game will probably never end. The answer is we should stop the theft, stop the corruption, stop the gerrymandering. But if your other side is doing it, then you're not doing it only leads to your loss of power, and then you can never stop gerrymandering. And I remember having this big fight with a lot of Virginians when it came to Amendment 1. Because a lot of Democrats said to me, Mark, we got to be good, gerrymandering's wrong. And I'd say, yes, gerrymandering is wrong. And they'd say, so we have to give up our power in Virginia because Republicans will give up their power everywhere else. I said, no, they won't.
No,
they're not going to do that. You're naive. You're nice, you mean well, you're naive. And they said, well, but if we don't do it, it's kind of like if someone punches you in the face and you're like, well, I'm a pacifist, so I'm just going to sit there and not punch back. And then you just get bloodied. It's not the way it should be. We should live in a world of nonviolence. But when people break the rules, sometimes the only way to get people to follow the rules is to fight back using their terrible methods. And I know that sounds ugly and it sounds unfair, but I'm afraid we have to fight fire with fire.
Totally agree. I would say that on a national level, I think that's going to be a subordinate issue to what I think the election.
Oh yeah,
shows,
no, I don't
right?
think people are going to run on that. Although
Yeah.
I do think every Democrat running should say, I support a federal solution opposing gerrymandering, because it would be wrong to gerrymander Virginia if there was a federal solution.
Okay.
There just isn't.
Love it. Okay, real quick, let's go back to the impact of the elections going forward, right? So, what states, where do you see the big pickups in the congressional side?
I think we're going to win in 2026. The Republicans will probably out-gerrymander us, maybe get 4 or 5 extra seats. Again, California's fighting back. Virginia can get a couple seats. But I think they're going to out-gerrymander us. But that's only like 4 or 5 seats. At the end of the day, I think the wave will be so strong, based particularly on things like affordability and also on ICE, which I hope we talk about. The immigration authorities have gone way too far.
Yeah, well,
and a lot of Latino voters are changing their minds. And I think a lot of Americans are like, wait, I didn't vote for that.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to win a landslide victory. I think we're going to take the House of Representatives. The Senate, it's a lot tougher. It's the seats that are up are more blue seats than red seats. It's going to be tough. That would be amazing if we won the Senate. But as optimistic as I am, I don't think I can predict that. I would love to come back on this
You're a dreamer.
on this show, because I am a dreamer, and I'd love to say we did it, 51-49. That's an uphill battle. I'm not going to lie. That's really hard, even though I think we'll win by 10, 15 points.
I'm with you on the House. If the House does flip, I'm still okay, because then you go back to accountability. Then you have that check where you don't have that now. Right now, you just got a blank check.
True, Cesar, but then you know what's going to happen. The Democrats will order Pam Bondi to appear, they'll order Kristi Noem to appear, and they'll just say, no, I'm not going to. And we'll get back to my old question of how you enforce a congressional subpoena. My view, bring back the congressional jail, but very few people talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because I think Steve Bannon did go to jail.
Well, no, different.
No, it was,
there used to be a jail in the basement of the Capitol.
Very
it's
nice.
a long story, hasn't been done in 100 years. I am a dreamer.
I've toured there. I haven't seen that, but we'll do that. Okay. When we get back, we got a lot more to talk about. So let's tee that up, folks. So, hey, folks, did I tell you this was going to be a great show? So after this public service announcement, please come back. My dear guest, dear friend, Mark Levine, the original.
So I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So how was work?
It was 1,300 hours. My math class from 302 was in the trenches. Davy Roth had it the worst. Fractions were coming at him left and right. He just didn't get the damn things. 2 days ago, I tried to teach him what 1/4 of 1/2 was using different sizes of blocks. Yesterday, I tried again by dividing up pizza. Both missions failed.
Oh, no.
But today, I was ready. I created a combat math game where the only way to beat the enemy is to out-fraction them. Davy conquered every last denominator. My game was so successful, the principal is deploying it to math squadrons all over the school.
Anywho, how was your day?
Oh, today my boss treated the office to salad wraps.
Salad wraps.
I know.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with you in Studio C. My dear friend, the original host, Mark Levine. Sir, thanks for hanging around.
My pleasure.
So before the break, let's get back to what's near and dear to me is the Latino vote that tipped over to Trump a little bit more than that.
In a surprising way, I think. The two groups of people that surprised me the most for 2020, disappointed me the most for 2024, one was the Latino community. The other, frankly, was young people who generally are progressive and generally are supportive, and apparently either didn't remember or were too young to remember Trump's first term.
Well, affordability, right? That was
I think affordability played a major role for both young people and Latino and struggling communities. People who are struggling to make a living are finding it really hard right now, and they're angry at everybody.
But now I see like Latinos drifting away from the whole, hey, ICE in your neighborhoods, masked people, not what people really were expecting.
Well, I think that people had this idea that immigrants were not their neighbors. They were criminals. They were rapists, and some I assume are good people, but most of them were criminals. Yeah. And you know what's fascinating about the deportations is that actually up to this date last year, Joe Biden deported more people. Most people don't know that. In 2024, more people were deported under Joe Biden than so far under 25. So people talk about the massive deportations. The difference is Joe Biden deported criminals. He deported actual rapists, drug dealers, the kind of people who we don't want in this country. He didn't go down to Home Depot and find people who are feeding their families through hard labor, working very hard. So I think that because Trump is going after, he's pardoning the drug dealers, right? We know that the biggest drug dealer, I tell you, I did some math, Cesar, the former Honduran president, he was convicted, not accused, convicted by a jury of trafficking 400 tons of cocaine. So I did some math. I looked, ton is 2,000 pounds. A pound was like 600 ounces. I did the math, and I looked at the street value of the cocaine. This guy, tens of trillions of dollars. This one person, larger than our entire national debt, this one man. Okay. So my thought is, why did Trump pardon this one man? Maybe some of these tens of trillions of dollars found their way back to Trump's pocket, because Trump has said very clearly, and in fact, the Supreme Court has said that the president can now accept bribes, which is fascinating because, of course, the Constitution specifically says you can be impeached on account of bribes. And Amy Coney Barrett was like, well, maybe not bribery.
Well, it's a gold pass, right?
Well,
if you buy the gold pass, Mark.
Yes.
You can afford to be here.
That's true. But also Donald Trump is, my point is that he's not going after drug dealers. He's actually pardoning the rich. I don't know what fishermen he's bombing in Venezuela. He won't release the videos. We don't know. Maybe they're drug dealers. Maybe they're just fishermen. I don't know. But he's going to let his drug kingpins go free. So if you care about gangs, you don't want Donald Trump wants the criminals here. He wants the criminals doing that's why he pardons so many criminals. But he doesn't want hardworking Latino men and women who are, frankly, the backbone of our economy. Those are the ones he doesn't want here.
So those are the have-nots.
Right.
Right? There's the haves.
Right.
And now they're the have-lots. Okay, that's where I think we're talking about here. Because the people that have been targeted, as you said, are the average working class. But those are the people that other people see, why are you deporting those folks?
Yeah, why are you deporting this woman
the teacher,
who worked at the shop
aide or something,
for 40 years, worked at my local restaurant and was a nice woman. And
because they've criminalized a civil infraction.
That's correct.
And that
most people don't even realize.
But see, that's what's scary.
It's civil.
It's civil. It's jaywalking.
Right.
It's not criminal.
That's correct.
And when you do what he's done, or the administration has done to due process, now you've made yourself king, jury, executioner.
That's why they call them illegals.
Correct.
Because they want to presume that these people have committed crimes. Well, by that definition, if I park my car and I go over the meter by 1 minute, I'm an illegal. I broke that infraction.
You're a criminal.
I'm a criminal, and it's a criminal fine when they charge me $25 or whatever. Maybe it's 50 now or 100 to pay for my. But the point is that he's trying to criminalize a whole bunch of people who've done nothing wrong but try to achieve the American dream. And at the same time, he's trying to decriminalize a bunch of people who are breaking our laws and are very dangerous.
I think people are seeing that, and they may not understand the nuance of the term, like narco-terrorist, because now what they can do is say, okay, this person's a terrorist, I can therefore execute them without any due process. It's a weird use of the word terrorist.
People are using words and they don't seem to know what they mean. What is a terrorist? A terrorist is someone who uses violence or threat of violence for political ends. Narco-terrorists? Drug dealers are trying to put money in their pockets. They're trying to steal.
What's the penalty for smuggling or moving drugs in the country, in the U.S.?
It depends on how much drugs you smuggle.
Is it death?
No.
So this is my point.
Right.
They've elevated that to more criminal. So whether you're an illegal,
we didn't even use the word terrorism. Terrorism has a very distinct meaning. Right. What happened in Australia, unfortunately, is terrorism. Right. Two guys, father and son, went out to kill a bunch of innocent people celebrating Hanukkah. That is a terrorist act.
That's right.
What happened on 9/11 is a terrorist act. And people like...
what happened January 6th was
a terrorist act. It was trying to overthrow the government. And when a Syrian immigrant, Muslim, in Australia, Ahmed Al-Abid, heroically... gets one of those guys, grabs him, tackles him, and is shot twice, that is a hero.
That's right.
And it doesn't matter the ethnicity of the people, right? They may both be Muslims, but the first are terrorists and the second's a hero. And let's stop trying to put everyone in the same category here. And what I see for the president is,
Somali.
Yeah, I forget who he cited. Someone from some country. It wasn't Somalia. It was some other country had done something bad, and therefore all brown people have to be deported. All what he called Somalians. They're not. They're Somalis. The person wasn't even Somalian. The person wasn't even Somali. Excuse me, I'm using the wrong word. They were of a different heritage. I remember. It was an Afghan guy who was probably mentally ill, killed a bunch of people. But because of him, we have to deport all Somalis? I mean, if the Brown University killer is a white person, does that mean we have to deport all white people? It
doesn't work that way.
It just doesn't. It's amazing how when a person of color commits a crime, all people of color are bad. But when a white guy commits...
You know what they call that, by the way?
Racism?
There you go.
Hey! But like the guy that shot Charlie Kirk was a white kid from southern Utah. Maybe we need to deport all white kids from rural areas? I don't support that, but if you logically support what Donald Trump does, that's the logical conclusion. So maybe we need to stop demonizing whole groups of people.
Well, the problem is he has normalized it, and others have allowed him to normalize it. So we're desensitized to it.
Yes, but it reminds me of when you pick up a rock that's been sitting for a while, and you peel it under and you see all the cockroaches that were lying underneath. The cockroaches were always there. It wasn't like they suddenly appeared just because you opened up the rock. It's that you've exposed it. The dark heart of systemic racism in the United States has existed for all of the existence of the United States of America and several centuries before. You're right that Trump normalized it. He exposed it. He made it okay. But it was always there. And I think that when people are actively against racism, the cockroaches hide under that rock. But when you expose them, they think they rule the area and they can do whatever they want. And you have, of course, the renegade Supreme Court who's basically said, that person's brown. Sure, you could take an American citizen who's brown and rough them up. Here's the thing. I know the jurisdiction of ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. They have zero zero, Z-E-R-O, zero jurisdiction over American citizens. None. Now, you may disagree. I often disagree with how they treat immigrants. They have zero jurisdiction over American citizens. They can't rough them up. And most of these American citizens haven't been like trying to obstruct them. They've been doing things like film them what they're doing. So one of the things actually that I'm trying to do in Alexandria, and I'll be meeting with the Human Rights Commission tomorrow night, actually, and everyone is welcome to come see that. I hope you do, particularly if you live in Northern Virginia, is I want to see our localities go after ICE members breaking the law. So it's very important to understand that ICE is not a secret police. They're not the Gestapo. They may act like it, but they don't have the right.
They're masks. They don't wear ID.
They don't have the right to cover their faces. Federal law says that unless they're going undercover for a specific reason.
Who would enforce it?
I would argue, well, it'd be nice if the Justice Department enforced it, but the Justice Department right now is the secret.
That's my point.
Is the secret police of Donald Trump. But we have other law enforcement in America. One of the blessings of our federal system is that we don't just live under federal law. We live in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We live under Virginia state law. I helped write some of those laws. We in the county of Fairfax, the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has ordinances. The city of Alexandria has ordinances. We live on more than one body of law. So here's something that I'm sure you know, but Cesar, but maybe some folks haven't thought about before. Kidnapping is illegal under Virginia law. It is illegal to punch through someone's car and to grab them out of that car. It's illegal to zip tie someone unless you have legal authority to do this. And if you don't have legal authority to do this, you are no different from a kidnapper. Kidnapping is illegal, assault is illegal, battery is illegal, restraint. You cannot I cannot go and grab you and put you in a room and lock the door and not let you out. That's illegal unless I have a legal reason to do so. So here's the thing. ICE sometimes has a legal reason to grab. I don't like it, but sometimes they have a reason to grab people. If they have a specific warrant that has the person's name on it, if they show their face, if they show their ID, they can do those things. But I'm asking local law enforcement throughout Virginia to force them to follow the rules. And if they don't, they are no different than an ICE imposter. If somebody who's not ICE puts a mask on, breaks a window, grabs a woman screaming, holds her against her will, does physical harm to her, okay, that person can and should be charged with kidnapping, assault, false imprisonment, all of that.
So is that constitutional county level sheriff, or is that, how's that power structured?
It depends on the locality.
Okay.
So in Alexandria, it would be the police.
Okay.
The police for we'll have to go back and talk about after the break.
Finish.
It depends on the locality. Sometimes it's the police, sometimes it's the sheriff, but all the localities in Virginia can get it done. And I'll talk about how.
Okay, let's hold on to that. That is amazing. Folks, did I not tell you, folks, this is the show of shows. Come back with us. We'll be back right after this public service announcement. My man, Mark.
Nice going, Spencer. I can't believe we broke Old Man Hennessy's window.
Correction, dude. You broke. I just threw the ball.
This is really bad. What are we gonna do?
We?
Go to the door, ask for the ball back. Are you serious?
It's my ball, Myrtlebeck.
You're so dead. I'd run away.
Yeah, to Uruguay.
Kiss your life goodbye. Sorry.
Let's go. See ya. Remember me and your well.
Nice one. Some friends you are. Hi. Tell him it was an accident. And we can fix the window. Come on. I'll come with you.
Loyalty. Pass it on.
You go first.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about free nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again. But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar back here, Studio C, my super guest, Mark Levine. Let's double click on that. So
let's talk about ways to stop ICE.
Okay.
Okay, because I've been hosting Mark's monthly meetups every month. By the way, anyone is welcome to come. You don't have to be from Alexandria, just to drive to Alexandria. Actually, if you want information on that, go to mark@markfordelegate.com. That's my personal email, markfordelegate.com, my old delegate email address.
Nice.
And I'll give you information on Mark's monthly meetups. But we've been developing strategies to fight ICE, and there are a lot of them. The one that I've been talking about is, I think it's quite forward acting, but that's okay. We're in those times. Here's the deal, and this predates the Constitution. This goes back to English common law. So what do you do when the English constable goes amok? What do you do when the police starts beating up people? Well, we all know that police can go too far. Police have a lot of power to do a lot of violence, but they can't. We know from George Floyd, they can't just go in and murder someone. They can't go and attack someone if they don't have probable cause to believe that they've committed a crime. They don't have an arrest warrant. There are certain procedures here. So what happens when you have police that run amok? I don't know how many folks have been watching The American Revolution with Ken Burns. I watched,
you did?
My fiance and I watched all 6 of them.
Got a stream.
But a very famous part of that is the Boston Massacre. What happened in the Boston Massacre? A bunch of British troops who had a right to be in America at that time, we were a colony, came in and the public said overreacted and shot a bunch of people. Well, it goes back to English common law. The police have rights up until they're legal. They have a legal right to do things. Once they cross that legal line, they're just like anyone else. If an ICE official shows their ID, shows their warrant, has a warrant to arrest someone, okay, they have a right to do it.
So they have to show their face.
They have to show under federal law, unless they have either a reason to be secret, which would be like an undercover, which rarely happens in ICE. Usually that's more for drug raids.
See more people with
like
masks on.
Yes. Otherwise, they have no right to do it. The federal law says so. They have to identify themselves. And here's the thing. Here's where I get down to local law enforcement. If Joe Smith, just some guy, goes with a mask on, grabs a woman screaming, breaks the window of her car, forces her out of the car, grabs her wrist, throws her in the car and carts her away, if they have no legal right to do so, that is a felony under Virginia law. Kidnapping is a felony. Assault and battery is a felony. So unless they show their ICE, unless they affirmatively show not only that they're ICE, but that they have a warrant for that specific woman. You can't, ICE doesn't have a right to just go grab people. It's got to be that woman, and there's a warrant right there for that woman. If they don't both identify themselves and identify that they have the right to go after this person, and that that person's resisting, because you can't just beat up people who aren't resisting. They have to prove all of those, or they are guilty of kidnapping.
Who enforces that, though, Mark?
Local police, local sheriffs, local DAs. Now, I've talked, Commonwealth attorneys, so we call them CAs in Virginia, Commonwealth attorneys. Now, prosecutors have said to me, Mark, hey, if these people say they're ICE and prove they're ICE in court, then they can go to federal court and we have, Justice Department will drop charges. And that may well be true, but they first have to ID themselves. And if they won't ID themselves, put them in jail. Put them in jail. Stop them. Kidnapping is illegal. I want Virginia authorities to enforce Virginia law. We Virginians demand it. It's a matter of public safety. And I would like to see every police chief and every sheriff in the Commonwealth of Virginia say we will enforce Virginia law against kidnapping, against assault and battery.
Wow.
And unless someone affirmatively proves, not one, that they're ICE, show the ID, prove your ICE, and proves that they have a warrant to do what they're doing, then they're breaking Virginia criminal law. They have to be punished. A lot of ICE people don't wear ICE vests. They wear police vests. They do it purposely to try to trick people into cooperating with them.
Well, police officers have badges.
That's
and
correct.
Numbers,
That's correct. And do you know where you get those police vests? In the Army surplus store. Some horrible dude, some horrible person can go to the Army surplus store, buy something that says police, go in, break into a car with a pretty woman. I hate to even say this on TV, but they can sexually assault that woman and kidnap her. And if people believe that that person is ICE and he's not, and they don't check to see if he's ICE, we could have local police and local sheriffs actually aid and abet a rapist. Now, they won't do it on purpose. They won't know they're doing it. But until they check to see that this is legal, we have to stop this crime.
Well, that's the exposure of people hiding their identities.
That's right.
Right. So I've always been uncomfortable with why that is happening.
You know, one of the first laws I wrote in Virginia, and it took several years to get it passed, was I wrote Virginia's first law on body cameras. I'm a firm believer in body cameras. The best thing about body cameras, it doesn't protect the police, it doesn't protect the community, it protects the person who's in the right, and it harms the people who are in the wrong. And if the police is doing the right thing and the citizen is doing the wrong thing, it's easy to get a conviction of that bad citizen. And if the police are acting wrong, the citizen's acting right, it's easy to get that conviction dismissed and get that police force
So why aren't
fired.
ICE agents required to wear body cam?
That's a great idea. How about that for our new House? How about asking that for people running for Congress? Require ICE to wear body cams. Here's the thing, if you are honest, if you are decent, if you're following the law and you're law enforcement, you not only should endorse body cameras, you want them.
Yeah, you want it.
Because you want to be able to say, no, he threw a punch at me.
Right.
I hit back because he attacked me first.
Absolutely.
Here's the proof. Otherwise, well, I shot him, and they're like, well, how is that self-defense? No, he shot me. He shot at me
He turned
first.
his back on me, so I shot him.
So body cameras protect good cops. Body cameras protect law enforcement that is acting lawfully.
I don't think a reasonable person would argue to the contrary.
Well, I agree with you, but there are a lot of unreasonable people out there.
Well, that's why elections matter, and that's why Virginia is going to lead the way, and we'll talk to some of the House and Senate folks.
Let's talk about some other ways to fight ICE, just people know.
Yeah, sure.
People need to know their rights. One of the big things that we're trying to get across to folks, particularly folks in the immigrant community, is the difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. A judicial warrant is signed by a judge. You got the judge's name right there on it. It says judge this, and it's signed by them. An administrative warrant does allow ICE, if they have the name, to go in, if you're in a car or you're out in the street, and grab you. But they can't go in your home because the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution says you have to have a search warrant. Otherwise, you have the right to be secure in your homes. They can knock on the door. You do not have to let them in. You do not have to answer their questions. You have the right to remain silent. And there's these little orange cards that you can get online where you can hand them and say, don't hand it to them, slip it under the door and say, I will not talk to you without a judicial warrant. Slip your judicial warrant under the door. If you don't have it, do not open your door. We're teaching that. We're also teaching people. It's terrible. We have to teach people these things. You can't go to your citizenship hearings anymore. If it's a judicial hearing, you have to tell your judge, this is important, if you have a hearing before a judge, maybe it's on an immigration matter, you have to write the court, whether you have a lawyer or not, have your lawyer do it and say, I don't feel safe in this courtroom. I want a Zoom hearing. I want a hearing online. Request it and say, I will not get due process unless I get a hearing online because I'm afraid that ICE will kidnap me.
Is that pretty standard, or is
That's
that?
not standard at all. I'm trying to get people to make it the new standard. Ever since COVID, the vast majority, I think pretty much every court in the United States has these proceedings. They didn't have it necessarily before COVID, but after COVID, they have these proceedings. You have to request it. You can't trust being in public. Unfortunately, people have to hide. I think back to Anne Frank. Some people just need to hide, and we have to help them do that. And one of the things that we American citizens can do is help these people in our community who have not committed any crime but trying to have the American dream, help them escape this horrific treatment.
What's horrible about it is you just want due process for everyone.
Right.
That's all we want.
A lot of these people, a lot of these people have asylum claims. Abrego Garcia. I don't know what he's done. I don't know the guy. I don't know what he's done. But I know this. He had an asylum claim because he was afraid of going back to El Salvador and being killed there. Our country has to be a country where people can come and escape political persecution. I think they should come here for economic reasons as well. But at the very, very least, we have to protect people who are refugees from political violence. If people have asylum claims, they have to be heard. Now, if it's rejected by a court, okay, it's rejected.
You went through the process.
You went through the process.
Yeah.
You have due process. But what they're now doing is they're deporting people seeking asylum. And I'm sorry, I have to go back. In my mind, that takes me back to the 1930s, when Jews were escaping the gas chambers, came to the U.S. shores, and were sent back to the gas chambers in Germany. That is not, it should not be our heritage as Americans.
No, in fact, I think I watched a little bit of the congressional hearings. There were a couple veterans
Yes.
that were sent back to their country of origin after having served and become citizens.
And with Abrego Garcia, they were trying to send him. He couldn't go back to El Salvador because he could be killed there. They tried, they sent him there, and that was illegal. And then Costa Rica said, fine, we'll take it. He said, great, I'll go to Costa Rica. So he was willing to voluntarily self-deport to a peaceful nation of Costa Rica who was happy to have him.
And then they brought him back.
Trump, first of all, they lied to the court. They said Costa Rica didn't want him. And Costa Rica's like, we're fine with him. What's the big deal? They kept trying to send him to Africa, to dangerous countries where he didn't speak the language, places like South Sudan, Eswatini, places he had no contact with, didn't speak the language, and frankly were dangerous to him because they wanted him to suffer, not because they wanted to deport him or get him out of the
cruelty
country.
in the example.
Cruelty has always been part of it. That's what they want. And I guess the answer is I don't think most Americans are sadistic. Some are. Some are. Some people, let's make the brown people suffer. Yeah, I get that that's some people in the MAGA movement. I don't think it's most of them. I think there's a reason why we're seeing their numbers go down.
Yeah, and that's when we come back, we'll talk about that more in depth. But for me, that's what's really been shifting. It has become apparent to a lot of people, even those that said, okay, Latinos, we'll give this guy a try. And they see the cruelty. They see it's not just the criminals. It's like the everyday.
It's actually very few criminals.
Yeah.
He's deported far fewer criminals than Biden did.
Which is
the
insane.
criminals go free. The Honduran drug kingpin goes free, while the person who's been here 70 years, or the girl that came here at age 6 and is just graduating college and has her whole future in front of her, she's being deported while the drug kingpin goes free.
The cruelty is part of the act.
It is. I'm afraid it is.
That's what's happening. Well, it appears more and more people are seeing that, so I do have some hope. I'm not quite dreaming about it yet.
We got to win in 26. It's very important for Democrats to win. What's interesting is you're finding Republicans, George Will, conservatives, who Ronald Reagan would be voting for the Democrats in 2026 because Ronald Reagan, for all the things that he and I disagreed on, believed in democracy, believed in the Constitution, believed that the president was not above the law, believed in the rule of law. And we now have a president who's trying to be king. And I think even conservatives are understanding no kings.
When Dick Cheney comes out and supports the Democrat, there's something going on. Folks, come back for our final segment here with Mark. Thanks for hanging around.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
I got a creak in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. Never know what to get but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
It's a big responsibility.
Oh, it's huge. I know, it's huge.
And the salary. Oh my God, yes. Right? I mean, like, I was about to move in with my parents, and right before, so this saved me.
I really believe in you, you know?
Thank you. It's nice to hear that from someone.
These are cool. Did you, what did you...
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back in Studio C, our final segment with my dear guest friend, Mark Levine. Sir, you wanted to talk about a community activist.
Yes, I went to a funeral today, but as the pastor said, it wasn't a funeral at all, it was a celebration of life. And we celebrated the life of McArthur Myers. Let me tell you about Mac. Mac was a whirlwind. This man, and he's very much a local. He lived, I think, every part of his life except the first 6 months of it in Alexandria, Virginia. And he was Alexandria's living legend. In fact, I had the honor of recommending him to be what's called a living legend of Alexandria. McArthur Myers was a force of nature. He was the preeminent historian, I think, for the city of Alexandria, particularly when it comes to African American history. This is a guy who grew up in segregation, played an early role with activists in changing segregation, and went on to become, he started the African American History Museum. He put up markers all around, I helped him with a few of them, but it was Mac doing all the work. All over. I learned all about the early black churches in Alexandria and the history of the free black community, the enslaved people, all the way through segregation. He was a storyteller is what he was, and he was really good at it. He played a major role in getting us the Freedom House, which is, it's ironically named because it's maybe the only museum about enslaved people in the United States that I'm aware of. It's right there in Alexandria, Virginia, on Duke Street, and this is where great slave traders made fortunes on the backs of by torturing innocent people. Mac understood that to know history, you have to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he didn't shy away from the ugly or the good. He very much, Mac was a happy warrior. He had a harmonica. And every time things got difficult, he'd play his harmonica and everyone would laugh, and Mac always got what he wanted. He would call you up and say, we need a marker. You gotta give a marker for the Third Baptist Church. In fact, I think we have a picture of Mac and me and the pastor of the Third Baptist Church. But there are markers all over Alexandria, and there didn't used to be these. When we talk about Alexandria history and African American history in Alexandria, so if you wanted to know the specifics, there we are. So there's Mac in the middle. He was a Mason. That's another thing he did. The George Washington Masonic Temple, that big, gloomy-looking building on the largest hill in Alexandria, used to be George Washington. I mean, this was a slaveholders set up that, they were Masons. That temple's been around since 1930. Mac not only integrated it, but brought in a huge number of African-American Masons. I saw them all at his celebration of life, at his funeral, honoring him. What Mac showed, and Mac was never an elected official, but he certainly worked with all of us, telling his stories, making history come alive, putting it in our schools, and making people remember, because all too often our history is told from one side. And the only real history is to tell all the history. And Mac just showed what a hard-working, ordinary citizen can do. He has changed Alexandria forever, and for generations, for centuries after, we will know about Alexandria history because of McArthur Myers. Nice. I wanted to celebrate his life today.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. One person can make a difference.
A huge difference.
That's amazing.
A huge difference. And I also think people need to think about, the pastor ended his talk with a question. He said, McArthur has found his place. He's on the way to heaven.
Okay.
I can't do much for him right now. The question I can ask is all of you.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing to change the world? What are you doing to make the world a better place? How are you helping your community, however you define your community? How are you making things better? And it was an inspiration, but it was also a challenge. It was a challenge to all of us. What are we doing? What are we doing? It could be political. It doesn't have to be. It could be community organizing. It could be visiting the sick. It could be teaching in our schools. It could be helping, kids who are hungry eat. Helping get. I'll give you another hero of mine. He doesn't know I'm talking about him at all. Former city councilman of Alexandria, Willie Bailey. Willie Bailey, for 20 years, 30 years, is it 40 years now, has been gathering up coats all across. Kids grow out of coats. They don't use them anymore. Right. And he grabs the coats and gives them to other kids in need who fit those coat sizes. He thought of this decades ago. Didn't do it for any reason. I'm sure he doesn't make any money off doing it. Just because kids grow out of coats, the coats are still good. Other kids need them, and he's passing it on. And when I think about things like the real affordability issues that we started with the program, people are really struggling, and do-gooders are making the struggle easier for people. People like Willie Bailey, people like McArthur Myers, and folks can get involved in their community and help too. And I hope in this holiday season people will think about what they can do to make life a little bit easier for everybody.
Well, let's make that ask, right? I mean, people for the new year, there are a ton of nonprofits. There are tons of donation centers. There are tons of, gathering places. So if you don't know, it's real easy. Act local. That's what.
And if you see a need that isn't being met, go out and meet it. Go talk to people. Go bother those politicians in office and tell them, hey, this isn't being done. What can you do about that?
And we all have a network. We know because people come to us.
That's right.
And there is a need. The good news is, there's a lot of people that do want to help. There's a lot of people that will open up.
And a lot of people don't know how they can help.
Correct.
And so the question is, who's your community? Maybe it's your church, your synagogue, your mosque. Maybe it is the local Democratic Party. Maybe it is, big brothers and big sisters in your community. Or maybe it's a food drive, or maybe it's Meals on Wheels. I did some of that when it's a lot of work. You go door to door, you deliver these meals. No one is happier to see you than a senior when you're delivering them a hot meal.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes people don't realize the joy you get by giving. And it's a great joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people need to, I think we have a need to think of ourselves as good people, most people. And I'm not telling people a specific thing to do. I'm just saying, go out and do something. Do something to help your community.
I love it. I love it. I get ideas all the time. There's just not enough ways to give out there.
So I've been talking about Alexandria a lot. Tell me about Herndon.
Let me tell you about Herndon.
Tell me what y'all are doing in Herndon.
So we had recently a food donation drive, giveaway. We had about 20,000 pounds of food.
Wow.
The Green Lizard Foundation, there's a cycling shop. They have a foundation teamed up with the Stars and Stripes Nova Committee, gathered up all the food and clothes. And Mark, the great news is we had those 20,000 pounds of food. The bad news is we ran out in about an hour.
You're kidding.
There's
so much need for that food.
It's overwhelming. And I think
That's striking and sad, wonderful, but also really sad.
Right. I mean, because that's why I go back to, it's no longer the haves and have-nots, the have-lots, right? Because the people at the bottom are really, really being squeezed. But I'm optimistic because there are a lot of people that give. We just don't have the channels to set this process up. So we've got a few ideas coming out in Herndon. By the way, that food went to a community that had been targeted with 6 ICE arrests that week prior to.
So you have to worry about people coming to your distribution center to pick up food.
Correct.
You have to worry about the Gestapo.
Well, Mark, they still can.
They risk their lives to get the food.
They still can.
That's
again,
it's the yin and yang of where we currently are in this world. That people trying to do good, trying to feed the hungry. You know, it's amazing to me that people who support this cruelty can call themselves Christian when feeding the hungry was something that Jesus very much believed in, and yet they're taking the people feeding the hungry and trying to deport them away.
I think people are starting to open their eyes. They're becoming woke.
I hope so.
They're becoming woke.
They're opening their eyes.
Jesus, I as a Catholic, I can tell you, Jesus was woke.
Yeah,
he's very woke.
Eyes open.
He never carried a sword He certainly wouldn't have a crossbow for another few hundred years, but he wasn't that type of person. And I like to remind people, just because I see it in Herndon and in the county, in this Commonwealth, in this country, despite what some in the administration will say, we're not a nation of war. We're a nation of peace. And I think in part of that, implicit in that, is to really be peaceful with others, to help them.
I just think in this holiday season, folks need to get back to basics and remind themselves, again, I just came from a funeral today. Life is short.
Absolutely.
We only have a certain time on this planet.
Amen.
And if you're only helping yourself, what have you achieved? What is your immortality? McArthur Myers is immortal because the good works that he did will be around forever. You know, what have you done to make how can you change your community and make people's lives better so that you become immortal, so that you continue your legacy? And I wish I could say this all comes from the preacher today. I'm not. I just thought I remembered his words,
That's
and so
awesome.
I'm passing it on to you.
We're celebrating the first day of Hanukkah, correct?
Yeah. Well, it's the second night. It's tonight.
Second night. Okay.
Last night was the first night.
okay,
Unfortunately, that's when the attack in Australia occurred. But Hanukkah is all about freedom. It's all about recognizing that we have the right to worship God in our own way and not let some imperious state tell us what to think or who to worship. And it's all about, frankly, the little guys fighting the power and saying, hey, we need to stand up for ourselves. And that's what Hanukkah is all about. And I'll be lighting the second candle tonight.
Well,
so
we have the menorah in Herndon. It's right on our old town green.
Make sure you have security. I'm sorry to ask, but make sure you have lots of security.
We will.
That's unfortunately the world in which we live. Yeah. But like I said, the whole world is yin yang. So since I'm Jewish, I'll cite something that from the Talmud, and it says that you should have two pieces of paper in your pocket at all times. And one says, when you're getting a little full of yourself, it reminds you you're nothing but dust. And the other piece of paper, when you're feeling low, says you're a little lower than the angels. And they can both be true. And I try to remind people when they get too down, they're like, yeah, we're heading toward fascism. Yeah, we're heading to dictatorship. And it's like, I'm not going to deny that, but I haven't given up. And you shouldn't give up, and you should fight it with every inch of your being, and you have power to fight it. And what we're seeing, the good news is this holiday season, is we're starting to see it turn around. We're starting to see, not just we liberals, but all across the nation, people are starting to see, wait a minute, this guy's been gaslighting us. He hasn't been telling us the truth. He doesn't give a damn about poor people. He only wants to help his billionaires. We, the people, are still in charge. We, the people, are still in control, and we need to take back that control every chance we can.
Brother, amen to that. We are awesome. Thank you again for coming out.
Cesar.
Always a pleasure. Folks, I told you we'd have an amazing show tonight. Join us next week. Week after, we only a couple more shows. We'll be back for this year into next year.
Have a happy holiday season, everyone.